Let's talk about manifesting and allowing. And I want to take a deep dive in the differences. I feel like, oftentimes people think they kind of overlap. The advantages, possibly even some of the limitations of one or both of them, and really take a look at how to implement either of these in your life. And as a spiritual student, I feel like in my path, this is one of the most misunderstood, slippery slopes, and something that can really get people off the path of why they're on their spiritual journey. And it all works out in the end. There's no judgment. Some of the things I might be sharing with you actually might trigger you. You might disagree with it. It could be even considered controversial, right? So let's take a look at manifesting. So I just want to go on record to say, we're constantly manifesting. This entire world that we see that is showing up in front of us of form in 3D is a manifestation. It's a creation, right? So, it's first just important to realize that, to understand that's very cool. It's fascinating. It's miraculous. And, a few years ago, quite a few years ago, a book came out called The Secret, and it's about the law of attraction. And the law of attraction, I'm sure you've read a lot of like Abraham Hicks or a lot of the books that are out there, or The Secret, that like attracts like. And really, the idea is that, based on your vibration and your frequency, that you can attract what you want, right? So there's this huge movement towards manifesting, towards the law of attraction. You can have the life that you want. You can create anything that you want. And all those things are absolutely true. I'm not here to refute those. I'm not here to, argue the significance of that or the possibility of that, right? All true. And I actually think, though, that with manifesting, it's a step on the personal journey. It is really designed to show us that we're creative, that our thoughts matter, that we are, what's in front of us that we're responsible for. And yes, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but with how we're feeling, what we believe is possible, what we're focusing on, what we're centering on, all those things are part of the manifestation process. And like what's showing up in front of us is, all of those things combined, okay? And again, I'm sure you've studied these things. Yet, here's one of the first things that I will say about manifesting that I actually feel like, and I'll get to allowing in a second, but that it's limiting. I actually feel like how people learn the law of attraction is, number one, the first problem is it's not necessarily a problem, but something to be aware of, is that it's limiting, okay? And number two is there's this false belief that like what we manifest purposely, that with our focus that we attract, is going to make us happy. That if we want something and then we get that, then, it's kind of a continuation of my last video. You recommend going to watch that on how to be happy. Yet, if we manifest this money, we manifest these cars, we manifest this relationship, that was the missing component. That's what will complete us. That's how we'll feel better, right? And on this journey, and again, most people find it out sooner or later, like manifesting those things, yes, shows you our power. Yes, shows you what's possible. Yet, it falls short from that wholeness, that truth of who we really are. And that's why I would consider manifesting a slippery slope on the spiritual journey, is that on one hand, it shows us of the power. On the other hand, you fall short again. And it gets on that track, that like endless hamster wheel of like achieving goals or wanting something out there, and then thinking that like conditionally, if we manifest what we want, then we'll have fulfillment, then we'll have that happiness. And I think that's something to be really, really aware of. And I feel like in a lot of ways that's part of all of our journey. That's been part of my journey. But I was so into the law of attraction and I manifested so many things. Yet I feel like it set me on this wild goose chase. Okay. I feel like it was just like my ego creating another opportunity to like not go within, to not be in the stillness, to not connect with God. That it showed me a hint of what was possible in like my creative powers. Yet it was just, running around trying to manifest things and the law of attraction, and then thinking I would have peace and security and happiness once I had those things and manifested what I think I needed or wanted, right? And that's a fallacy. That's false. That's an illusion. And you might be experiencing that right now. You might have gotten the job or the relationship or whatever, right? And there's nothing wrong. There's no judgment, okay, that all of those things, happened, or that you were able to do that. Like it's wonderful. Yet it's just a step on the journey. So let's talk about allowing. I feel like allowing goes to the next level. Allowing, I feel like manifesting a lot is like still within our limited mind and like what we can conceive. Where allowing takes it to a whole nother level. It's, if manifesting is maybe the micro of like this specific thing and what we think is possible where we're at in our beliefs at that point, allowing like opens ourselves up to the macro, open up to the universe. You could say God's plan, the universe's plan, and unlimited possibility, right? And when we first start doing that though, when we first start allowing, it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of faith. And, I'll go through these, phrases, but like letting go, detachment, surrendering, okay? And what comes along with letting go and detachment and surrendering is like that sense of loss of control, of that, like it's out of our hands, and like what are we supposed to do, and how do we do that? How do we let go? How do we be letting go, right? And I feel like there's an art to it having to do with trusting and faith, but really it's understanding that like the plan that God has for us, or the universe has for us, is so much bigger. And you could even, I don't want to compare it, but you could say better than what our limited ego that thinks like, oh, having this little car or this little thing over here that we manifested is like significant or important, okay? And so when we start allowing, we're opening ourselves up to divinity. We're opening ourselves up to God. We're opening ourselves up to the infiniteness that is everywhere. Yet most of the time, based on scarcity, based on what our beliefs are at that time, we're focused on this little thing over here. And we're like, oh man, if we just had that little thing, then like that would solve this problem that we feel. Where there's this huge, universe. There's these unlimited possibilities that are like waiting for us to like just step into. And that's where allowing comes in. And I'm reading a book by Michael Singer, just the second time, one of my favorite books of all times, called The Surrender Experiment, okay? And where he basically just shares his life experience of how he surrendered and let go. And the quick cliff notes on that is that he decided not to, kind of do what everybody else does, where they set these goals and they need it to be a certain way, and it's usually fulfilling a lack. It's based on limited beliefs, and then go and do actions, hoping to achieve something specific. And what he did was he surrendered to life. He detached from what he thought he needed, or the way he wanted things to go. And when things would show up in his life that he would maybe use the term of that were happening to him, he allowed them. He went with it. He trusted, spirit. He trusted the universe. He trusted that that had come into his life for a reason. So he didn't go out seeking anything, searching anything. But when things came into his experience and form, he went with it and he allowed it. And he detached from any outcome and he surrendered to the process, but gave his best in that. And that best could be like energetically, the best could be like with guidance, right? The best could be with, not needing it to be an exact certain way, but just showing up and learning and getting better in that thing. And I'm not going to, ruin the book for you. Yet there's just so many miracles that happen. There's so many cool stories that like he could have never in a million years planned all the things that unfolded. Yet he went with the universe's plan instead of his like manifestation plan. And yes, I know somebody out there might say, well, isn't that too a manifestation, Gavin? Isn't that like the law of attraction? And I would say it is, like, of course, it's all a manifestation. The difference of what I'm talking about is he detached from what he thought the manifestation should be, and he trusted life. He trusted, spirit. He trusted what showed up instead of coming from a place of need and lack and ego and then trying to himself decide what he should go manifest. Okay. And that's a radical shift. That's an unbelievably different, situation. So how does that look like, in our life? Like, let's talk about work. Most people, I, myself included, have a job, have a way of earning income. So what most people do is to say, okay, I have to go to get this amount of schooling to get this kind of job to make this kind of money, right? And what if, and you're probably, a lot of us are who are watching this down that path, but let's just say you're in that path and you're in the job that you would work towards, right? Well, what kind of we get stuck is like, well, I've come this far, I've put all this time and energy into it, and like this is kind of what I wanted. I would like, now the next step is to get a higher level job and to make a little bit more money. And what allowing would do is to say, I'm here, I'm gonna do this job the best I can absolutely do it. I'm gonna show up for the team, I'm gonna show up for the clients, I'm gonna show up and give so much love and show up every day with like a high frequency. And then I'm just going to like not necessarily have like this specific intention. I'm going to allow and let go and let the universe unfold before me in this experience. And what happens is that's really cool is you really get I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm so sorry, but like it's like every time I do a video, there's never any noise. Like the lawnmower people come, and now there's like all kinds of crazy sirens around. So hopefully I can mute that out. And sorry too, but I do have to kind of laugh. So, and so in your job, that you're not worrying about or thinking about or needing any specific outcome for your future. You show up in that moment, you detach from that day, you let go of what you think should happen, and you trust, you surrender, you let go. And I can pretty much promise you that number one, you'll enjoy your days more because there won't be that stress of like, okay, the only reason I'm doing any of this is to get this certain result. And oh my gosh, like I'm trying this, but the manifesting, the law of attraction isn't working, right? And this frustration will go, the stress will go because you're not coming from lack or need, you're allowing, you're feeling good, you're giving. And in that, when we're coming from that place of giving, the universe is going to give back to us. God's going to give back to us. Love's going to give back to us way more than we could have ever imagined. Okay. And that's what happened with Michael Singer. That's what's happened to so many people. I feel like this is part of the ascension process. I feel like this is part of what's happening in the world is that all these, structures and ways of life that were limiting, that caused fear, that stifled us, are being broken down, and people are taking a look like, does this make me happy? Is this who I really am? Is this how I want to be spending my time on this planet? And and what's really possible? And wherever we're at right now, I don't care if you're 75 or 80. I don't care if you're watching this where you're 25. What are you engaged at? Like, where are you engaged? Is it your church? Is it your job? Is it your friends? Is it school? And maybe just let go of all these things you thought needed to happen. Participate fully in where you're at in that present moment. Show up the best you can and just trust that whatever's going to happen from there, the perfect job will come into place. The perfect business will come into place. And then this is the key, and I'll do a whole nother video on this another time, maybe even the next video, is the next step after allowing, letting go, surrendering, detaching, is to learn to follow the guidance. And that's this like huge missing link, is that you have to first have the awareness and you know, and pay attention to what is being told to you in a many different ways. And again, I can teach on this, yet to follow that. You know, things happen in the surrender experiment, Michael Singer, to where, you know, he had some resistance, but he was like, okay, I said I'm just going to surrender, and this opportunity came my way and I'm going to go with it, right? And the reason he had resistance is because it didn't meet the preference of what he thought his life was supposed to be, or how he thought it was going to, you know, go. But when he opened himself up to a new possibility, things went in such a different direction that he could look back and see the perfection and maybe call it much better than he could have ever imagined. You know, that's absolutely miraculous. So that, my friends, are, you know, my name is Gavin. This is the 1 minute vlog. I think this is 17 or 18. You can go back and watch these other things. But, you know, I'm teaching oneness. I'm learning oneness. I'm reuniting with oneness, right? And these videos are one of the ways I get to do that. So I would love it if you shared it. I would love it if you liked it. If you've come this far, comment. I would love to hear from you. You know, what's your difference? What do you think about what I shared today? What do you think allowing is? And what do you think the difference is in, you know, possibly benefits compared to manifestation, right? Or the law of attraction. So, you know, hopefully this made sense. Maybe watch it a couple of times. Feel free to ask me any questions. Yet I will talk to you again soon. Much love, my friend, and thanks so much. Bye-bye.